Have a play roll back.
I see that the Zoom is open, everybody's present. We'll go ahead and call the...
Recording in progress.
Let's see, go ahead and call the October 23rd, 2025 meeting to order. See all directors present. So if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Clerk, you could lead us in that, and then as a reminder, everybody please remain standing for the following pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick note, this month we have 6 names, but we are unable to access volunteer firefighter deaths right now through FEMA because their website appears to be down. I would imagine it has something to do with a government shutdown. So we are a little bit short this month on probably the accuracy of this list. Sorry. September 5th, Jim Webb, 55 years old, of occupational cancer from Puget Sound, Washington. September 21st, Wayne Conlon, 68 years old, of occupational cancer from Dennis, Massachusetts. September 25th, Sean Bolin, 56 years old, from occupational cancer, Vancouver, British Columbia. September 26th, Roderick McElwain, 59 years old, of a medical emergency from Dayton, Ohio. October 6th, Victor Green, 52 years old, of a medical emergency from Shreveport, Louisiana. October 6th, Mike Stevens, 74 years old, occupational cancer, Lethbridge, Alberta.
Thank you very much. As we get started, I need everybody to take a look, all of our members take a look at the agenda, and I will we need to add the approval of the August 25th, that's on there, okay. Are there any other additions, changes, or deletions to the agenda?
I do have a deletion under new business. Would like to postpone discussion on item C, discussion and vote on item C, to make sure that we get the language right and don't have any unintended consequences.
Okay, given that you brought that forward, we'll go ahead and strike that from the agenda. Is there any other additions, changes?
I was going to ask if we could find out. I've been getting emails about the Sage Impaact, and I was just going to ask for an update on where we are with that.
Yeah.
Will you put that under 7A? Is that okay, Chief?
Yeah, of course.
Since it's financial?
We have an outstanding motion from September as well that was tabled until this meeting.
Which one was that? Kathleen, I apologize.
Treasurer Woods made a motion to make financial presentation in October 2025 meeting. The vote was a tie, so it got tabled until this meeting.
Okay, so we're going to add, we're going to take 4E and put it under 7. That will be, let's make that 7A, approved 2025 expenditures. August, sorry, missed a word. And 7B was the financial report from August. Correct, Kathleen?
Yeah, the presentation of the financials.
7C will be update on Sage Intact. Did I capture all of them?
I believe we may need to move the November meeting, unless we want to do it on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, let's add under new business. Furnace, make that 10C is the new one, is the November meeting.
I thought it's on the website, it's Thursday the 20th.
Yeah, I thought we had already addressed
Did
that.
it already get addressed? Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, I apologize, my bad.
It's okay, thank you for thinking about that. I could have sworn we had addressed that with the initial admin.
Yeah, it's been pulled forward a week to the 20th.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so never mind. Any other additions, changes, or deletions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the agenda as amended.
Dominique, could you
Yes, sir.
just go through each of the changes?
Yes,
Just
sir.
so we're all clear?
So we are
I'm not.
moving. You're okay. So
So we're striking C
we are striking
Yeah.
10C.
and C.
We are adding 7A, which is approve August 2025 expenditures. We are adding 7B, which is the motion that was tabled from the September meeting regarding the financial reporting. And then we are adding 7C, which is an update regarding the Sage Intact, which is the accounting software.
7C,
7C,
and that is what now?
Sage Intact update.
Sage Impact Update.
Intact, it's a software,
Intact?
INTAACT,
Yeah,
Intact. That, it's like the equivalent of QuickBooks, but
gotcha. Okay.
that's the name of the software. Any other additions, changes, or deletions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion. Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chuck, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Let's move, if I can have the list for public comment while I'm there. Just a reminder, it includes any handouts, setup, presentation. You have 3 minutes, we will cut you off at 3 minutes. Mr. Whitehead.
Do you want me to time this?
Yes, please, sorry, thank you, Sharon. We're a little late, sorry.
Hang on one sec. Have to find the clock.
You get an extra second.
Okay, go.
Good evening. My topic tonight is the Elk Creek Fire Protection District Board is dysfunctional, Part 1, the treasurer. Observing the last few meetings, it appears the treasurer of the board is being shoved aside to prevent her from giving the monthly financial report. The replacement report seems to be the new and presumably very expensive accounting firm report. Will the treasurer even be allowed to present her report this evening? The treasurer has a statutory duty to watch over the financials of the district and present that information to the public. You have here a situation where the fire chief demands absolute control of the flow of information about Elk Creek Fire. This collides with the board's mandate to provide oversight of the district required by their oath and statute. I suggest that the treasurer do chorus to obtain proper financial information about the district if she cannot be satisfied. To the board, if you cannot control your treasurer, appoint another board member who is submissive to the board majority. To the residents of Elk Creek Fire Protection District, beware when the control of financial information is so restricted by the principal officer of the district, the fire chief. Indeed, I presume the reason for the change in the bylaws proposed tonight, and apparently I don't have agenda, has been tabled, so is that a board member sought financial information from a staff member where the staff member was confused about complying or denying. The purpose of the board is to carry out the sense of direction of the voters of the district and to see the taxpayer and other monies flowing into the district are spent wisely. Ultimately, the board's duty and responsibility is to fire and hire fire chiefs. The board is dysfunctional because they seem to think their main duty is to please the fire chief. No, it is not. Save Elk Creek Fire.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Flip Koch, your turn. I'm assuming you're online.
Oh, Flip, we're trying to get you unmuted here. I think you have to unmute.
Yeah, yes.
There you go.
So.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I'm not sure I got the control of the microphone there, but I'm ready to go. If you're ready to hear me.
We got you.
We're ready. Thank you, sir.
Okie dokie. So, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity again to address the Elk Creek FPD Board of Directors. My name is Flip Koch, and I reside in the Longley Valley area of Elk Creek. I'm a third-generation firefighter and volunteer member of this FPD. However, I speak here, as always, as a private citizen informed by my years of fire and other emergency service. Per quarter request, first the updated newbie legal cost tally. In the past 33 months, Elk Creek taxpayers have spent $69,848.32 on legal fees directly attributable to this director, net now amounting to just under 60% of Elk Creek's total legal budget for this period and 66% this year. For once, this is unchanged from the prior month, but I expect that to go way the heck up for October this year. For comparison, with these funds, Elk Creek could instead have purchased about 19 SCBAs or breathing apparatus, or else about 12 gear that keep us from burning out during structure fire. Second, the updated obstruction notification by Newbie Whitehead County. It has exceeded $71.6 thousand in legal election costs already paid by us taxpayers, or the equivalent cost of about 20 SCBAs and 16 cents of bunker gear. Estimated total cost to taxpayer by this time next year, if Newbie and Whitehead get their way, has remained at about $800,000, mostly through lost service contracts with Conifer FPD and higher property taxes by virtue of Elk Creek not being part of Conifer FPD, which has a lower mill levy rate. This is equivalent to the cost of a new fire engine that is mid-range in price. These are colossal and unproductive wastes of taxpayer funds by these two men. Now to switch gears. While I continue to emphasize here the cost to us taxpayers of these two men's actions, they too are accruing legal costs with plaintiffs' counsel, costs that, if successful, they will try to recover at taxpayer expense. What are these costs, you should ask? This information can easily be estimated using known attorney fees that they have engaged, together with estimates of the time involved. I can do no more than bracket Newbie and Whitehead's costs, but I estimate that these amount to between $31,000 and $65,000, or about the price of a new car or truck. For almost anyone, that's a lot of money to be paying, and again, if successful in their legal cases, directly or indirectly, they will try to recover these costs from Elk Creek's taxpayers. Far be it from me to tell others how to spend their own money. However, like me, Newbie and Whitehead are retirees, don't they have better things to do with their funds and their time in their retirement than spend it on partisan politics that thwart public safety? Were they here, as with our taxpayers' funds, spending other people's money while betting on the come? If so, we must ask whose money is behind this, and what do they expect in return from their underwriting in public safety before partisan politics? I repeat, public safety before petty, parochial, pseudo-populist, partisan politics. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Koch. All right.
Yeah, 3 minutes exactly.
He times it, I know
Yeah.
he does. All right, moving on. Item number 6, which would be the review and approval of the September 2025 regular meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes, and are there any additions, changes, or corrections requested?
Nothing for me.
Nothing for me.
Director Newby? changes, corrections? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented for September 2025.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Al. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to financial matters. So, we also have September's financials to go in there. Let's cover 7A, B, and A and B first, since those are from August, and then we'll jump to September's financials, and then move into the Sage Intact update. Is there any problem with that from anybody? Okay. So at the August meeting, there was a motion to approve the August 2025 financials. I believe that resulted in a stalemate.
Correct?
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then I would like to open that motion. I need a motion to open that back up to approve the August 31st, 2025 financials as presented in that board packet.
I motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Al?
This financial package, the page that was provided on the day covers everything that I think needs to be covered. There was the attachment to the board packet that had the additional detailed information. I am satisfied with the August financials, and can I move that we vote, or is that too soon?
I would like to give anybody else just a second to respond. Is there any other commentary on those financials? Okay, the motion has been made by Kathleen with a second by Al to approve the August 31st, 2025 financials. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand, because I am 1, 2, 3. Okay. Opposed? Signify saying. Okay, thank you. Please let the record show that the motion was approved 3-1. Okay. Now, moving on, item 7B. There was a motion put onto the table by Ms. Woods, I believe, Director Woods, I believe, that was resulted in a stalemate as well. Director Woods, I will give you the opportunity. Do you want to reopen that motion?
I'm not sure what you mean by reopen.
Well, it resulted in a stalemate, and so it became table. The recommendation was to table it until this meeting. Do you want to revisit that motion?
Well, I think the motion, if I remember correctly, was whether or not I would do the financial reporting for this meeting.
Correct.
And I did the financial reporting for this meeting.
Correct.
So I believe that we have satisfied.
Okay. All right, so we are going to move on with 7B. From 7B, there is no need to revisit it. 7, and then now we are into September 30th. Try to add an extra day. The September 30th financials. Ms. Director Woods, would you like to present on those, please?
Do you want the chief to put that up on the board so that everybody can see it? Or is it sufficient?
Yes, please.
Okay. And the answer is yes. I was undecided.
Understand. There's a little bit of confusion.
So, it's really a one-page report that I put together, similar to what was put together by CLA for the August financials. So, highlights, year-to-date revenue is at $6,657,577. We're about 88% of budgeted on a linear basis. We should be at 75% of budget by the end of September, with 3 months to go. So I believe we are positioned to meet or exceed our revenue budget for 2025. The highlights would be property taxes are at 98% of budget, just a note there. Specific ownership revenue is at 87% of budget, $239,658. Grant awards, which we do not budget, are at $572,661. And surf revenue amount collected so far is at $439,599. Other income is at $44,741. Reimbursement from Concord Fire is at $200,269, 89% of budget. From an expense standpoint, there was a budget realignment between departments in the month of September. There's a, if you want to scroll up just a little bit, Bethany, the chart. I guess scroll down is the correct word. Sorry. There we go. So what you can see is the budget has been revised between departments, but we are adhering to the $7,443,742 expense budget for the year. I do not expect that we will exceed that. That is 74% of the total annual budget for expenses. And again, we're 75% through the year. So you can look at the chart. It is the same bottom line number, $7,443,742. So any questions? So I make a motion to approve the revenue and expense budget year-to-date for the month of September 2025.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7C.
Can I ask a question before we move on?
Yes, ma'am.
For the board, was this report sufficient for you to understand where we are from a financial perspective?
I love what you've done here,
Then
Sharon.
I will continue with the same format for the rest of the year.
All right, moving on to 7C, an update on the status of Sage Impact.
Yes.
Kind of give us for the audience, can you explain what that is? I know what it is, but that's.
Yeah, so Sage Intacct is basically a new accounting software. Our current accounting software is Sage, but it's server-based. It actually lives at a very clunky server upstairs, which is mind-boggling that we still have that. We either needed to upgrade the server, which doesn't make any sense, or move to the cloud-based system. So we are upgrading to the cloud-based system. What this is actually going to give us, we've been living with Sage for, I don't know, as long as I can remember, probably 10, 12 years, 15 years. And we've got a lot of legacy general ledger accounts in it. This is going to give us an opportunity to kind of revamp our general ledger and have it make more sense. So we're going to be able to track finances better. We're going to be able to attribute things better. We're going to have smoother roll-ups and roll-downs on a lot of grant tracking and a lot of things that are kind of clunky. Because when we first moved into the Sage, we weren't really getting much grant revenue, and so now that we're getting a lot more, there are going to be a number of things we can do to make it a lot smoother and track it a lot better, so it'll be easier on the reporting. Where we're at now is we're actually just looking at our general ledger accounts. The existing ones we have, which over the last, I don't know how many we have, over 15 years, it's many, many pages. And almost everybody involved has added new accounts. I think there was a total of like 8 accounts just for tires. And it really made it clunky. If you were to run a report involving everything, I mean, you've seen it several times, it is clunky. It is not clean. You really have to decipher it. This is giving us an opportunity to kind of rebuild that into a much cleaner document. Where we are now, we've just started to build that. We started to talk about general ledger accounts, and we're kind of in the infancy of it. We're still hoping by January 1, that's when we're going to kick it off.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sharon. Did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Any other questions about Sage Intacct while we're right here? Thank you. Moving on. Jake, just keep on your roll. Let's go with your report.
All right. All right. So September, we close out September. It's the beginning of the fall season here. It's cold. It actually looked like it was going to snow on the way in. The leaves have started changing, and leaf peeper traffic kept us busy. The RV and boat show was happening on Fridays. The weather than normal trend continued with the decreased fire danger across the district. Firefighters were still out assisting agencies across the country. Ironically enough, this week brought one of the first red flag days that we've had in several months, which was unique. Pump testing was completed for Elk Creek with a new vendor. We've outsourced it. We ended up saving a tremendous amount of labor on that. What we had to do in the past was our fleet maintenance division had to end up physically driving the trucks over to Evergreen. So out of all the trucks with pumps, they have to drive it over there. It takes about 3 hours to pump test and then drive it back with each piece of apparatus. And that doesn't include the cost of renting the pump test pit and everything else. So we tried a vendor. Worked a lot better, and we're probably going to continue that. The annual test of the fire pumps on the apparatus to make sure they meet the minimum NFPA standards. Every year we test our hose, ladders, and pumps to make sure they are safe and functional. Firefighters also completed the annual fitness testing, the IPAT. It's a physical fitness test that consists of several stations that have tasks to simulate activities on the fire ground. The test is done in bunker gear and wearing an SCBA. To be qualified as an interior structural firefighter, members must complete this test annually, career and volunteer firefighters. One thing that we did end up doing that I didn't put on this, and I know it was this month, but I didn't want to let you guys know, we did select an auditor. You know, we were kind of going back and forth. We ended up going with Fiscal Focus Partners.
Oh, Eric Gill.
No, not her, not him, another.
But his partner.
Yeah, I have to look at it. So I want to talk a little. Well, I want to talk a little bit about why we went with them. So we looked at a handful, and one of the things with auditors is you have to have a good working relationship, not only with the auditor, but your auditor has to have a working relationship with the accountant, and everybody it has to work together because the accountant prepares most of the stuff. In the past, we had questionable relationships and we had some challenges, so we ended up not only talking to the auditor, but also having our accounting firm. You know, the last accountant we have did not talk to the auditor at all, which really, it led to some problems in the end. So this time we, our accountant as well as the auditor, everybody kind of knew each other. They came highly recommended, so that's who we ended up going with. Which is good. We needed to get that letter of engagement signed and selected.
So who is the firm?
Fiscal Focus Partners.
Fiscal Focus?
Yes. Operations, nothing really outstanding. 177 hours of volunteer staffing at Station 1. We averaged 3.8 members per call. 24% of the calls overlapped and our average response time was about the same. Total calls was 111 runs. Mutual aid we provided and received it 3 times. Transports were up a little bit, no rhyme or reason, it's just the way it goes. We had 175 hours of training. Fire prevention, 10 inspections, 12 letters, plans, etc. The community risk assessment, again, that was identified in our strategic plan, and there's going to be a survey that's going to be sent out internally and shared with the public. The survey will be an online format to provide a chance to collect data on what concerns the community has to help build a community risk reduction plan. The community risk reduction plan was part of that strategic plan. Fire Marshal Rush is working on that, and she's working with DFPC. They already have a model for this, so it's working out pretty well. It's a approved model that the state's used before. And happy Fire Prevention Month. The theme for this year is Charge into Fire Safety. Very clever. To address safety concerns with lithium-ion batteries. We actually have one, I believe, 2 months ago. We had a speaker that was plugged in that melted down and caught fire. So lithium-ion batteries are very complicated and they cause a tremendous amount of fires in cities. We haven't had many of them up here, but it is a problem across the country. The other thing I didn't put in here is on the fleet and facilities. We finally got our fire alarm fixed. We now have a fire alarm back in the fire station. Hopefully this one will not burn the firehouse down. And we also just received the motor back for the ambulance. And the mechanics are putting that motor back in. We've run out of it. We've been down to 2 ambulances for the last month and a half, and we've run out of ambulances several times. So we should be back to 3 ambulances by the end of next week.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes,
Do you want to mention to everybody that's here, October 28th is that community meeting.
Yes.
But I think it's important.
Thank you. I apologize. We actually have, and actually I can get P.O. Urban to talk about it. It's kind of a late notice thing to get everybody lined up for this. We're going to have a community meeting. And with that, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, we've, as some of you probably know, the last time we did a community meeting was in the summertime, and it went really well. We had over 100 people there, and there was definitely interest in continuing community meetings with various topics. Our ambassadors have been a real powerful force in helping move forward some of these ideas and topics, and one of the word on the street was that people were real interested in learning more about insurance as it relates to living in the wild and urban interface. And obviously we know people have had challenges with insurance around here, some of us in this room included. So we have a handful of speakers coming to address just that topic specifically. Lisa Hughes will be coming from United Policyholders, which, while I know it sounds like an insurance company, they are not that. They are more of a nonprofit organization that assists people with these kinds of issues when it comes to challenging environments and insurance. So she's a real expert in that area. We'll have a lot to offer. Kelly Campbell from the Colorado Fair Plan, which helps people get insured in disaster-prone areas when they just can't get insurance anywhere else, kind of a safety net. And then Lisa Cutter, Senator Lisa Cutter, will be coming to do a brief update on any legislation that impacts insurance and wildfire-related issues in Colorado. So please, that is at the high school this coming Tuesday, the 28th at 6:30 p.m. There's some flyers I left out front for you all there. If you need more, let me know. We're going to get some flyers around town in the next couple days. We're blasting it on Facebook. I know the ambassadors are sending it out. So please share it with your friends, with your neighbors, and let them know they can come. Hopefully get some good information. There'll be a Q&A session, time for people to get their questions answered. We'll stream it if we can. We don't know if that's going to work or not in the high school, but we're going to test it this next couple days and see if we can also stream it.
Would you send me a copy?
What's that? Yes, I will send you. Yes, thanks, Chair, for the reminder. I'll send you a PDF.
Because I can
Yeah,
pass it around.
I can send it to all the board, and that way you guys can share it.
Yeah, that'd be great too.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Jay, really quickly on a personal note, can you please extend my gratitude to the crew that responded to the medical call late Monday night?
B shift.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a personal impact.
Yeah.
So you tell them thank you.
I'll do that.
Okay. Moving on. Any additional questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. Old business, impact fee update. You are just on center stage.
Right. Impact fee update. Ordinarily, I'd say status quo, but we're moving forward. I believe we're still on track for maybe November for this body to see what that's going to look like and make the decision on it. We're going back and forth. Mr. Camille has been answering some questions from county attorneys, etc. Right now, what we're working on is the process on how that's going to work. And, you know, when the impact fee will be assessed, how it will be collected, etc., etc. There's been some talk about it. I've had a handful of people ask about it, which is actually really exciting. What impact fees are not to affect people that live here. Impact fees are for new construction. So if somebody moves here and they build a new house, they will be assessed an impact fee. We had a study done, and that study, through some very complicated, I don't know, formula, figured out what it cost for us to protect each house. Because what we built is a fairly amazing fire department, thanks to, you know, the board here. And for people to move in here and they did not invest in any of the service and help build that, and they automatically get the service, that's what the impact fee is for. The impact fee is the impact on us. You know, it was brought up, it really came to a head with the bike park. Everybody said we needed to start assessing impact fees on the bike park. And when we started looking into it, we've gone back and forth on it. Impact fees are not something you can do overnight. You cannot do it to one property. You cannot do it to, you know, it's pretty complicated. We had a nexus study done by a firm which would do the assessment. They determined what the fee actually is. And once we did that, we held on to that. We weren't sure if we were going to unify some fire departments. And so we really didn't want to keep kicking the can down the road. We need to go ahead and do this. We've missed out on the townhome project on Pleasant Park. That's a tremendous amount, as well as the housing development in Aspen Park. Two of these things over the last few years, those are perfect examples of why these impact fees are important. They're not for people that live here, they're for people who move into this district because they get the benefit of what this agency is. So anyway, hopefully November-ish, that's what we're shooting for, but I'll keep you updated. Right now what we're doing is we looked at a number of other fire departments already have impact fees. They already have the process to collect them, when they come into play and all that. So we're looking at, I think Elizabeth and a handful of other fire departments, we're looking at what they do. And we're going to try and craft that into ours. And that will be all part of November's packet for this body to decide if they want to do it.
So I have a question.
Yes?
And just a clarification, would it really be for any new construction? So let's say, for example, you wanted to add a granny flat to your, like an ADU to your property. So any new construction would come up under this rubric, would it not?
No, ADUs are not under that.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on,
The square footage, obviously, if you're adding another house.
No, but if you're adding a standalone ADU, let's say 1,200 square feet, that would come under our
Well, if you-
impact fee, correct? Or no?
I believe if it's living quarters, yes.
Yeah, living quarters, yeah. An ADU is by definition living quarters.
Yeah, then that would fall under it.
Yeah. So.
so it's new
If
construction.
any of us here in this room wanted to put an ADU on their existing property, then they would fall under the impact fees.
If you add living quarters, yes.
Living quarters, yeah.
Because that increases, what we would have to do if we did respond to that place.
Just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
So I have kind of a segue to what Director Newby just asked, and kind of your comment. So if you have a two-bedroom house, and you add, not an ADU, but you add to your house, you add another 2 bedrooms to your house, or you add a significant amount of square footage to your house, would that count as
I
new
don't believe
construction?
new construction under that, unless you create, so the breakover for a large dwelling is 3,500 square feet.
Okay.
If you go over that, I believe that would come into play. Do you know, Mr. Camille?
I'd have to go back and look at how you all described it in the proposed schedule.
We'd have to look
Usually
at-
there's a trigger for square footage. So like I know a lot of times it's like under 1,000 square feet, it's not going to trigger an impact fee if it's like an addition. But if you go over that, there might be some, depending, again, most of the time it's the living quarters. So it's triggered then by when you get a new, development application, through the county. And so the district would have to assess that. Those are kind of unique circumstances where you might have to say, well, is there a defined impact and how does it fit into our fee schedule? Generally, they're geared more towards standalone new construction. Like Chief is saying, someone comes in with an apartment complex or new single-family home development. They're kind of capturing that new demand on the system. So kind of those in-betweens where we could look at, and that's kind of what the proposed action would be in November to a certain degree, is, revisiting the fee schedule that the Nexus study proposes, which essentially is what they term as, that's the highest defensible fee that you could charge. You can kind of slice and dice it, different ways, and you can create different triggers. So there, ultimately, it comes down to what that, fee schedule would apply to. If you wanted to make the consideration that it didn't apply to additions, you technically could. But again, most of the time you want to make sure there's that nexus between the fee and the demand for service. So if it is a substantial addition that does create, especially height-wise, or additional living quarters where it is going to be more of a demand on the system, there's still that justification. But I think usually it is at least over that 1,000 square feet on the additions where it triggers it, and that's usually tied to how the counties or the town, the authority having jurisdiction on the building permit, how they kind of consider either major or minor when it comes to the addition.
So the 1,500 square feet of deck that I just replaced on my house, I don't live there, so it's okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Well, and
Yeah,
it was
this is not
replacing-
decks, it's basically living units. So to your point with ADUs, many times people add ADUs up here. What a lot of people are doing is adding Airbnbs and rental units. So now they're increasing the population,
Right.
adding more people,
Right.
which is why, so the dwelling unit, that's where it does, as it's written. But ultimately, again, it'll be up to this body to decide what this looks like.
So I have a question. So is it your goal for us to have this fee schedule and triggers to review in November, at November's meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there a way that we could get a copy of whatever it is we're going to review at least 2 weeks
I mean,
before we meet?
the fee schedule has been, yeah, it should be, the fee schedule you've had in the Nexus study for years. It hasn't changed. Once we decide on, and it's got to go through legal, once we figure out on the process, that's what's going to take a little bit of time. But I think we may be able to, do you think we'll be able to get that, John?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like Chief said, I mean, the Nexus study itself has been completed previously. That has the proposed schedule. We have kind of the baseline of a resolution that incorporates that fee schedule. It's basically, the schedule itself, though, is a copy and paste from the Nexus study, which is essentially the Exhibit A to the resolution. And so that you all certainly could have, or, I mean, I think that you've got
Well, I think
previously.
we have it already,
Yeah.
but what I'm interested in is this process document that you're developing that will define where the triggers are for, levying the fees essentially.
Mhm. Well,
So
that's,
we worked on that we worked on that a while ago. Greg and I made comment on that, I think.
Yeah, that was probably 2 years ago. I think, the schedule and the triggers haven't changed. We have to,
Yeah.
we're adhering to the Nexus study. We're not changing anything from that. What the document that we're working on is the process on how it's collected.
yeah, more about how it's collected, because, to clarify that, so impact fees, previous to this recent legal change, you had to get a specific IGA through either the county or the town, and that jurisdiction would actually collect them and then remit them to the district. The issue was there were a few jurisdictions that would always just say no to the IGAs, so that was the basis of this legal change, where now it's completely 100% on the district to actually collect the fees. So some of the questions thus far that we've gotten relate more to the practicalities. It's not like there's an objection to the district having impact fees, but like planning and zoning wanting to know, how's this gonna work? If we're not involved, like, what do we tell folks, and how are you all gonna follow through? So it's more like for their background, what we're proposing to do. Most districts that are doing it this kind of new way, build it into their existing plan review type process. So when you get a new development application in for referral to the fire district as the fire marshal review, then you basically put out, okay, based on this proposed project, here's the fee schedule, here's your estimated fee, and then you kind of use that as the jumping off point for talking about it. And then collection is at issuance of the building permit itself.
Yeah, so all I'm asking for is if we're going to vote on something next month, I want to see what it is that we're going to be voting on, so that we have a chance to review it and make some comments, and then have that discussion
Yeah.
next month.
Really the action from the board is really the fee schedule itself, which is primarily tied to the Nexus study. The collection kind of process that we're talking about is more kind of on the operational side of how the fire marshal's office is going to work with the county and how we can kind of develop that. I think we will have a pretty good outline of it by that point, but that's not necessarily something that
That's
the
not what we're
board
voting on.
is going to vote. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is we're going to be voting on,
Yeah.
can we get it 2 weeks beforehand?
Absolutely.
For the meeting?
Yeah, I think, I'm hoping that I get a good update from the county attorney, primarily from Jeff. She was waiting on actual comments from planning and zoning, and she was going to share those with me.
we're hoping maybe by early next week, we actually have those, that we can kind of go back. And then I can certainly forward out that, recirculate the information and basically say, here's where we are right now. And then you at least have the Nexus study and the proposed resolution in your inbox, and you can consider that. Because I just don't know, I can't recall offhand, without going back and looking at it, how the impact fee study defined those triggers, and if they made already kind of determinations that would allow us to just answer some of these questions more clearly. But we can have that conversation in November for sure.
Yeah, I think it would, I just went through my email really quick. I think it would help everybody if you recirculated that BBC report. I think that would help to just kind of refresh everybody's memory. And then, because we did have those thresholds kind of built in. And one of the questions that I was looking at my notes back from August is that, having language in there that covers at least the large ADU. Jeffco definitely has limitations on ADUs and how they're classified, they're broken down. And the only one I was really worried about was that 1,200, threshold, that 1,200 square foot large ADU threshold, because of its impact. So I would just, if you can make sure that we have some sort of language in there about ADUs and the crossover on the fee, I think that will satisfy a lot of concerns. But like the square footage threshold, I think we had set was 3,500 is what the recommendation was.
Just for large dwellings.
For large
over
dwelling.
3,500 was considered a larger dwelling.
Yeah. So I think if you could just circulate that Nexus study to just refresh, and especially for Kathleen and how they were not part of those conversations. Yeah. I think that would be huge. I am excited to see this hopefully finally be done. That was our first conversation about it was in February of 2023.
You don't want to rush into things.
I know. So, awesome. All right. Any other conversation, questions about the Impaact? Fantastic. All right, moving on to new business. That will be, you're still center stage, Jake. The 2026 draft budget.
Right. Second here, so draft budget. Relatively flat budget this year. We had an increase of about 140,000, which sounds like a lot, but we also have had some increases. Where we're at is we are looking at about a 17% increase in health benefits, employee benefits. And then when we sat down with our general liability and work comp, that was entertaining. We sat down, we go through everything, and they pointed out that we're going to have a decrease because we've had a lower number of instances of people getting injured. That was the way she couched it, and then she went with, you're probably going to have a 10 to 15% increase as well on the tail end, which is going to wash anything. So that's going to be some of our bigger increases. We don't have all the final numbers for that, so we kind of build our budget with that in mind at the high side of 17%, just to make sure we're in a good spot. And again, work comp, what we do with work comp, that's usually doing a lump sum. We pay that in January, so that's one of those line items where you look at the budget and it says 98% in February, and people seem to think that that's going to keep going every month. It's just a lump sum. We pay that, so whatever it's going to be, this year it'll probably be upwards of $75,000. And we'll pay that in January. We pay it early, we get a little bit of a discount, but that's kind of the way that goes. So there aren't any real big changes in the budget. Moving down on revenues, obviously about $140,000 increase. Some of the changes that we don't know what's going to happen, the ambulance billings and the Medicare reimbursement from the state. Nobody really knows. We got something from Systems Design saying they're not even doing Medicaid billing right now with the government shutdown. They're not sure what's going to happen when it's going to start, if it's going to start. A lot of that's up in the air. So that line item you see on the ambulance revenue, nobody knows what that's going to be. If we don't have the Medicaid reimbursement, we're probably looking, that'll be about $100,000 less. It's between 100 and 150 on what we get. Nobody knows if we're going to keep that, if that's going to be there next year or not. Moving down, SURF, when you do wildland reimbursements, usually what we end up doing is just taking what we billed the last year and rolling it over. This year that number may change. Obviously we're down in that on revenues. Partially that is people just don't have a chance to go out. It was a very slow fire season. While there's still assignments, people just didn't have the ability. We didn't have the staffing, so people didn't take as many fire assignments this year. We may lower that number. That's TBD. Then moving forward, moving down. All right, so getting into administration, a lot of these, again, all we did was kind of do some increases across the board. What we did do this year, and where you're going to see some of the fluctuation, is we actually relied on a lot of the area coordinators. So what we have is area coordinators. They're non-supervisory management roles. So in, for instance, EMS supplies, we have an EMS coordinator, and then we have somebody in charge of all the EMS supplies. We have durable goods and we have consumables. Consumables are one-time use. Durable goods are backboards and things you use over and over. So we have two of those line items. We've really turned a lot of these roles over to these area coordinators to really get a better view of what the expenses are. So some have gone up, some have gone down. We don't have any substantive changes in any of those. We did add a new line item, health and wellness. As part of the strategic plan, health and wellness was identified as one of the big concerns. Before, we did have a lot of these items within the budget, but they're all over the place. They're scattered. We had health and wellness in fire, we had it in admin, we had it in EMS, all kinds of different places. What we've tried to do is capture all those as well as add to health and wellness. There was a health and wellness committee chaired by Andrew McManus. Thank you, Andrew. He's probably floating around here. Hey, it's that guy. He did a great job chairing that committee and putting together what the committee felt we needed. Updating gym equipment, a lot of these things. And a lot of these things pair right into our lowered work comp costs. Physical fitness is huge in this job. Doesn't matter if you're a career, volunteer, whatever. So we did add about $40,000 in that budget. We already have budgeted, physicals, etc., but we did add a handful of things in that, and that's a new line item that we haven't had before. Everything else is relatively, again, not substantive changes, moving down through this thing. Then getting into reserves. This is where there will be some changes. So moving down to the transfer to operating, that's a new line item. What that is, and we're going to address that tonight for this year, the engines that this body agreed we should purchase is 2 engines for a little over $2 million. We decided to lease it. The reason we decided to lease it is because the revenue that we were making on our interest income made a lot more sense to lease these instead of pay for them outright. We had the money to pay for them outright. We went back and forth on it, and we can still pay them off. If interest really starts going down and it's no longer a benefit, we can write a check and pay these off. But for the short term, I really believe it makes sense for us to lease these, at least this year and next year. Then we'll keep evaluating every year. So what that is we're going to take that out of our capital reserves and move that over to the general fund. That's where the increase in the bottom line comes up. That payment is, it's about, so in here it says 238, the payment's 266. So we're probably going to change that to 266 just to cover that. So we're, again, we went back and forth whether or not we were going to just write the check for it or finance it.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Does that tie to, if you, under expenditures, there's expenses, leases, and capital, which is, for next year?
Yeah.
Significant increase, is that tied to what you were just talking about?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. The 200. So the other part of the capital for next year is those 2 ambulances that we're supposed to deliver this year in March that actually are delivering next year in March. We're going to pay for those. So that's $515. It is $515. We'll be reimbursed about $150 through a grant, but we have to pay for them up front, then we'll have to reimburse, then we'll get reimbursed by the grant. So that's one of the reasons that the capital is, it's big this year, or for next year.
Yeah, that's stuff we need, right? So-
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to have ambulances.
Yeah.
And again, we were supposed to have them this year, and they pushed it off a year. So that's where that
Great, thank you.
big number is.
Could I follow up,
Of course.
dovetail on what Mr. Leo is asking? So the capital reserve fund savings, that's sort of like a lockbox for the capital equipment that we've already committed to, right?
We started
So the
that,
ambulances and the 2 engines,
well,
or
ambulances,
not?
yes and no. So we started that reserve in 2020 to start saving for these things.
Yeah.
So we started putting money away just to buy these things. So we'd have the option whether we finance or pay cash for them. And so that line item that's exactly what it's for. We are able to pay, we're hopefully going to be able to pay for those ambulances out of the general fund, so we don't have to take that money out of it.
So, just trying to understand so we have 3,450,000
Yes.
as a capital reserve fund savings.
Mhm.
So the idea is that we lock away or we commit those reserves to purchasing that capital equipment, right?
Yes.
So that would be the 2 ambulances that we've ordered and the 2 engines that we've ordered.
Yes.
Is there anything else in there as
Um,
well, or is it just sort of
So,
a projection, or what it?
no, so the ambulances we're able to pay for out of our general fund.
Okay, so they're
So-
not coming out of there.
No.
Okay.
That's going to be the segue into what I wanted to talk about at the budget workshop is some of the other capital expenditures that this body is going to have to think about in the next couple of years. So the idea is if we can pay it out of the general fund, we keep that in our savings account. That's where the engines, they came up, and the engines, we could have written a check out of there, but we decided not to, so we're going to keep some of our savings. I guess, any more general questions? Then do you mind if I touch on that at the end, or do you want to?
Well, just to try to understand what the concept, I'm just trying to understand what the general concept is here for that fund, for locking away the money in that fund. So I think you just mentioned that next year we could decide to actually pay cash instead of leasing
Correct.
the 2 engines.
Correct.
For example.
Yes.
And then were we next year to decide to do exactly that, the money would come out of
Yes.
this fund, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, we started putting that money away just so we'd have the ability
right, okay.
to make some of these large purchases. We almost had to do one of those a few years ago before our insurance was actually not replacement costs for some of our larger apparatus, and we had an engine that got melted at a fire. It was through no fault. Our crews did a great job, but it was complicated. And 3 weeks prior, we sat down and we moved it to replacement cost. If not, it was going to be, it had, I think, about $30,000 worth of damage, which ironically enough, its worth at that day was about $45,000. So that was actually, it was one of the first board meetings I went to. I thought I was going to tell the board that we were going to have to spend $1 million on a fire truck. So we started building this as a just in case.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what it's there for. And it, apparatus, fleet, facilities, any of those things, any of those big ticket things.
Right.
So that's why we separated that out. Before that, we just had the, basically the other reserve account, the unrestricted reserves, because there was talk about what to do with that. So we basically made the other line item just so we would have one that we could dedicate to apparatus, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the unrestricted reserves, we can do, that's up to you guys to do whatever you want with.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I would like to request an addition to this budget for 2026.
Of course.
It is a smaller line item, it'll fall under probably administrative expense. I would like the district to conduct a reserve study.
Reserve study? Okay.
So I can give you a list of agencies I have, where I'm doing this in several of the districts I work in. I can give you a list. I'm sure Lamont can give you a list. I know he's done quite a few, Lamont with Clifton Larson.
Okay.
It is a nominal cost for the information that it provides for the district,
Okay.
which will help guide us and help you guys in deciding vehicle replacement costs, upgrades to the buildings. It'll help us build a more comprehensive reserve plan.
Perfect.
And it provides a document that you can use and say, you know, in a couple of years, and we're like, why are you doing this? And you can say, remember this. So it gives useful life of everything. And,
Okay.
and they, so that's probably a couple of $1,000, 5,000 max. I'm doing one for a district that is 500 acres with a $7 million annual budget, and the reserve study's costing us $6 grand.
Okay.
So I think they are invaluable to help provide useful life. John's probably you've probably at least reviewed, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your time.
Ever since the change in the engine scheduling for, now being told you'll get your engine in 2.5 or 3 years, everyone's had to revamp the way that they're trying to plan out capital replacement. So it's become a lot more common the last 3 or 4 years for sure.
Perfect.
They come out, they take pictures, they talk about all your things, and
Perfect.
so it's really cool. So,
We have done.
sorry, just one more. I would actually, and on that same note, as much as I don't like, let me rephrase that. I love revenue, I love the SURF reimbursements. I would prefer that you budget a little more conservatively with that.
Okay.
It's something that I've always done with my budgets is income is conservative, expenses overstated, to make sure that, so that when you get that extra interest income or that extra SURF, then that's a boom and we have some coverage. So if you feel like the anticipated for this year is reasonable, then great.
We're going to look at where we're at with it again. Again, this is a draft. This is not the final.
Yeah.
This is, there's not going to be any big changes, I don't think, before November, but yeah, we will.
And then, do we have, I know you have an other income category. Do you guys account for like an other or miscellaneous expense category at all? Like, I know that this is a rolled up budget, but
I don't think we have a generic other. We've tried to avoid having that just because it seems nebulous and it would cause you more grief than.
Okay.
So we've tried to avoid other. We've tried to avoid miscellaneous emergency fund, any of those things. We've really tried to attribute everything to a fund.
Okay.
And I actually like that. So my biggest question then is, other income, what is that made up of?
Other income. So if we sell a truck, if we
Insurance claim.
Yeah, sell a truck, insurance, anytime we get money that comes in that doesn't fit into this, I think this is the roll-up. Under that, I believe we do have apparatus sales, insurance claims. If we end up getting some sort of reimbursement that doesn't fall under a grant or mitigation. Okay, so I guess I stand corrected. That is another account. But it's not an expense account.
It is, but that's a really big number in your budget for other. 257 or 257,000?
Yep.
Because our other income on a monthly basis, and year to date as of right now, is only about 45,000. So I question that,
What's
what
in
that,
that
what
number?
that number is made up of. So if you could help
Yep.
understand what you put in that number.
I will, instead of, see if I can do that.
Yeah, and all in all, that's my biggest question, I think, is other income seems like a lot. Since you just said that you don't like to put stuff in other.
I know, I was totally wrong.
I love having an other category because every now and then you just have this random expense.
So,
Like, I don't know what to do with that.
So other income, all right, so we've got report charges, permits, inspection fees, home assessments, donations, lease revenue, revenue from surplus equipment. So we've got it it's in the general ledger, there is an account for it.
So you have lease revenue identified.
Yeah, it's revenue is a separate line.
I don't think we need to if you could just dial into that and
Yeah,
maybe
that would
bring
be
that
good.
up. I don't want to.
Yeah,
Have like a.
Just-
Perfect, I'll come up with it here, I've got it here,
It's probably one of those Sage Intech cleanup things that would.
yeah, yep.
Lamont, if you're still on, when you guys are doing that Sage transfer.
I'll get that and I'll send that out.
Okay, and the other question I have is labor on our expenses is probably the biggest number we have. It's like 60%
That's
of our
correct.
expenses, which I just said you agreed with. If I look at the total labor budget that you have here, it actually went down a bit between 2025 and your budget for 2026. Not a lot, but it went down a little bit. And some of the surf labor you've got up, which fine. But like maintenance labor you have up, but prevention, training, wildland, all of those went down between 2025 estimate and 2026 budget. So I would ask that you take a good look at your labor numbers. That's all.
Okay, all right.
Please. Thank you. Fine.
Any other comments or questions or inquiries?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Did you, I think maybe the chief, you were going to talk more about the reserve accounts and maybe something you wanted to do with them, or?
Yes, that was going to, once we had the specific questions about this, I did want to touch on some of the things that in the future.
So I do have a question about the unrestricted reserves that we have. We're projecting for this year to have, and I guess this is pretty well a final number, $3,883,350,000, right? So those are unrestricted money that we have not committed to any particular purpose.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. What we do with that account is many times if, so we don't get our money until usually that second quarter, next year from the county.
Right.
So we have, a lot of times we'll have to cover payroll out of that for January, February, March. We transfer money out of it back and forth because we have to cover that until we get our tax money. We'll also use that when the state is slow on paying for wetland assignments. We'll be able to pull money out of that to cover labor. So that does go back and forth, but that's essentially what that is.
So, but we also have, in our reserve accounts here, we have a general fund carryover of $500,000.
Yes.
And as I understand it, that is also a carryover that we can use like next January
Yeah.
or February
Yes.
before the tax revenues start coming in,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So I guess my question here, the $3,800,000, seems like a very, very large number.
That's correct.
And the question that I have for the board is, why shouldn't we return that money back to the taxpayers? It's not dedicated for a particular purpose, and it seems like it's very large and not being used except for interest income. And I'd like to ask the board to think about returning that money to the taxpayers by lowering next year's mill levy.
So are you talking about returning it or lowering next year's mill levy?
Well,
Those are two separate
yeah,
conversations.
no, they are. So the concept is that we could take some large portion of that $3,800,000 and return it to the taxpayers by lowering the mill rate.
We could lower the mill rate through unification.
No, we're talking about Elk Creek.
yeah.
We're talking about next year's budget.
Elk Creek's board voted to do that.
I understand that. But I'm talking about specifically the $3,800,000 plus. I'd like to take a large portion of that and use that money to refund it to the taxpayers by lowering the mill rate.
I think
would-
any kind of discussion about doing anything with the reserves needs to be tabled until the reserve study is completed. Because at this point, I think it would be fiscally irresponsible to just say, hey, let's take this $3.8 million and give it back to the taxpayers. There's other things that could come up that the fire department's going to need that money for. Expanding, I'm still
like what?
talking, I'm still talking.
Well,
Ex-
yeah,
let
well,
me
you interrupted me.
Finish, no, I was still talking. So I'm going to continue to talk and you will let me finish, please.
Very good, Kathleen.
Don't
You
talk
just
to
go
me in a
ahead.
condescending manner, sir.
Well,
So,
you-
it's
you interrupted
fiscally
me.
irresponsible to take
and Al interrupted me before.
$3.8 million and just say we're going to give it back to the taxpayers.
Well, I think it belongs to the taxpayers.
No, it belongs to
Oh,
the
no,
fire
it
department.
belongs to the taxpayers.
Incorrect.
The taxpayers own the fire department, contrary to what you believe may be the case.
You don't.
We are the owners, the taxpayers, the residents are the owners of this district. This is their money. This is their money. We need to refund it to them.
No, you are
Immediately.
incorrect.
Yes.
Okay, stop. Stop. We're not doing anything productive here. I think that this can be a discussion item. I think that it needs to be considered in conjunction with the reserve study, which is why I've asked for a reserve study. I think that there is a significant portion of those monies that, while they are unrestricted reserves, not all of that is a direct result of tax revenue. We do garner a significant amount of money from SURF and from the sale of asset. So if you would like to have that item added to the next agenda,
I would,
okay. we
and I
can
would
do
like to be a part of that study.
The study, stop, I will explain.
Just a minute.
No, sir.
Let me finish my thought, and then you can.
Oh, thank you.
So gentlemanly.
So, well.
Chuck,
I
spit
think
it
it's-
out.
I think it's all in part of the discussion. I think we're still civil here, and we can continue in that mode.
I think you need to take your own words.
And
You would like to be
and
part of the
and
reserve
you as
study.
well, and you as well. I want us to all be a part of that reserve study. I don't want these behind-the-scenes studies and discussions that we've always had here. So let's all of us get involved with that.
Okay, for the record, a reserve study is done by a third-party
Yes.
agency that specializes in
Understand.
exactly that. So you mean to tell me you want to tell them how to do their job?
No, that's not it.
Okay?
I think we need to, what I'm saying is we the board, need to be in the loop on it.
In the loop. What does
In the
that
loop.
look like to you?
We need to define what the study is, who's going to do it, and we need to have interactive communication with whatever that entity is. And we need to have input, instead of getting a budget that is fait accompli and presented to us with no discussion. No involvement from our treasurer,
But I think that's what.
all behind the scenes.
We're discussing the budget, aren't we?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we're doing right now, is
That's what
discussing the
Where we
budget.
are right now.
And I have a question, and Chief said he could.
Well, Mr. Leo, yes, we are.
And you remain, if you remain out of compliance with the bylaws, correct? And you.
What are you talking about?
Your injunctions and appeals.
I have the opportunity to speak on behalf of the people of this district.
I'm one of those people. I'm
Well,
one of
we
your
all are.
constituents.
Yes, we all are constituents of one another. That's true. So what's your point, Mr. Leo?
My point is somebody is lecturing the board and the chief who is out of compliance with the bylaws, actively.
What are you talking
Your
about?
injunction.
What are you
Okay,
even
all
talking
right.
about?
Here we go again.
The thing we need an executive session for, that is where you're out
Okay,
of
all
compliance.
right, okay, stop. Stop.
Chuck, you have filed an
You are
injunction with.
so comical.
You have filed an injunction with Neil White against
Oh, I
your
filed a
company,
complaint.
and it's now.
It's a complaint.
We're done. This is going nowhere. It is becoming combative.
I agree.
Chief Ware, can you please put on the agenda for December and bring forward several options and cost for
Yeah.
reserve study?
But of course,
Thank you. For November, we have our budget hearing. I know it's a discussion item. Can you please, let's try to keep the November agenda as minimal as possible, unless there are necessary items. And we will use time, all of that time allocated as part of the budget hearing, as for a additional discussion on the budget.
Yep.
Okay? Is there any objection to that from the board? Okay. In the meantime, I think we have at 7:20 kind of exhausted this. I would encourage all of the board to review this existing budget and draft your questions specific to this budget. Please circulate them with your fellow board members and the chief. And we will have a civil, focused discussion in November. Please keep in mind that we have to certify the mill levy by December 15th. Is that correct, John?
Yep.
Jake, please sharpen your pencil on some of those items, including review your labor numbers as Sharon has requested.
I will.
And what's in those reserve categories,
Yep.
please? Thank you.
Can I touch on one more thing?
Absolutely, as long as it doesn't start fireworks.
Well, it does go into our restricted reserves and our capital
Okay.
reserve funding. So this is what I want to talk about at the budget workshop. The reality is, the last time we had a new building built was 1998. The last time we did anything major to this building, we had the living quarters remodeled in 2015. Our new ambulances are getting built. Right now, they're going to be delivered. We don't even think they're going to fit in the bays over here. Our 1962 bays are not going to fit our new ambulances. Part of the reason we've been saving this money is we need infrastructure improvements. We're built out here. You can say we need to hire more staff, whatever. We took part of the gym to build another bedroom this year. We don't have any more space. Our fleet maintenance, we had to outsource getting an axle seal repaired because there's not enough space to pull the axle while the truck is up on lifts in the 2 bays that they have. So moving into next year, we're going to have to think very seriously about infrastructure improvement. And again, Station 2, you've all seen Station 2. We could get them moved porta potties, but that's not necessarily the best way to go. We have 14 people working out of a 2-bay garage. We are in desperate need of infrastructure improvement. This is why we've been saving this money. And over the first quarter of next year, hopefully if we can somehow have a discussion, it doesn't necessarily have to be, if we can have a study session over some of the options that are out there and have a civil discussion. I'd like to get input from this body, and I have some ideas that I think we need to do something. And we can do nothing, but we're going to have 2 ambulances we can't even fit in our bays, and that's just the industry standard. We don't really have an option with it. We could pay for a full custom ambulance where they make it 6 inches shorter, which seems unbelievably ridiculous. We're kind of reaching a point where we need to do something. So that's one of the reasons we've got these reserves. And, again, it'll be a discussion with this body as to what we're going to do for the future. If we stay status quo, we can. We're just built out. There'll be no more people. There's no more space for any more volunteers to shift. There's no more, we just don't have space. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about at the study session that we didn't have. And then if we can have one of those over the next quarter of 26, I think it would be very productive. We can have that reserve study and all those things and look at this, and that's something that we really need to, this board needs to think about. Your group, Save Elk Creek Fire, went to the, we should use the Evergreen model. They're building a new facility with, I believe, sleeping quarters for 10. And they keep hiring people. They're one of our biggest competitors right now because they pay very well. So I'd love to use the Evergreen model that was touted, but unfortunately, we do not have the ability to do that. So anyway, something to think about.
Can I ask
Yes, ma'am.
another question?
Yes, ma'am.
When are the new fire engines suspected to be delivered?
They have not moved up their date. It is still, they're talking about 2028.
2028. Because we don't know what interest rates are going to be doing between now and 2028.
Correct.
Up, down, the same, we don't know. So part of these reserves, I think it behooves us to make sure we have some money in here for fire engines that aren't going to be delivered till 2028.
That's the dedicated reserves. That's already the earmarked reserves.
Yeah, but it may not be enough. So
I think it is, isn't it? We talked about this. It is enough in the dedicated reserves.
Yeah,
to
that's
cover
correct.
this. Yeah, it is. When are those ambulances targeted to be delivered?
Tentatively, March of 26.
Okay, that's a problem then.
It's something that we're going to have to address.
do we have a price tag on those yet?
The ambos?
Hmm?
Yeah, 515. It's in, yeah, so it's right around, that includes about $10,000 for radios and a couple other things that the vendor doesn't do, but yeah.
Is that per ambulance?
No, that's for 2.
Thank you.
I would have a kitten if it was for 1 ambulance. At one point in time, they were $180,000, and I thought that was a lot of money for
At one
them.
point in time, they were like 82 is the,
Yeah.
when Kevin started.
Yeah, so again, what that's going to be is a challenge for, this board. We need to think about what we're going to do. One of the things we did get the garage door guy to come out and adjust the garage doors to open all the way up. They gave us an extra 4 inches. We are literally talking about that is going to be the difference in between these rigs fitting in there or not.
Just for clarification, Jake, can you answer now or in November how much it would cost to modify those ambulances so that they're shorter? Because I know that question's going to circulate.
I can reach out to the vendor.
Thank you.
I don't even know if they would build a custom box. I mean, honestly, anybody would do anything.
Custom chassis.
It's full custom box.
Oh,
Which
yeah, because they would have to reduce.
they'd have to redo everything. Well into the six figures.
Okay.
But I will, you know what? I
For
will reach out.
perspective.
Yeah,
Can you please go?
Yep.
remember that number?
Can I ask you to fit in the shorter ambulance?
Hmm?
That would fit in the small ambulance.
I don't think half of our staff would.
I know. Yeah.
If you've ever been in it, I barely, like, if I can reach the ceiling, it's really small. Okay. I think we have exhausted 10A. Jake, do you have anything else you would like to add to that?
no man.
Thank you, sir. And you need a lease payment transfer approval from reserves.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking about. That was what we talked
How
about.
much money do you need transferred?
It should be in that, I think 266.
Is it in that?
It should be written down.
There it is, yes.
267.
I need a motion on resolution at the back of the resolution for budgetary transfers to move $267,000 from the revenue in excess of expenditures to the total expenditures category.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Okay, now, for those of you in the audience and Director Navy, we are going to go into an executive session. This is a motion pursuant to section 24-6-4024B for the purposes of receiving legal advice. We will come out of that, no decisions will be made in the executive session. We will exit executive session. We will restart the Zoom for those of you who wish to pop back on. And if a decision needs to be made, it will be made out of executive session, but we won't be for one. And then we will adjourn. Are there any questions? I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
And just for the record, that's pursuant to 24-6424B for purposes of receiving legal advice on the current litigation related to the exclusion of property.
Okay, well, that wasn't in there. It wasn't. All right, so I have a motion by Kathleen. I need a second.
Second.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sharon. We are going into executive session at 7:28. Thank you
Call the
all
motion.
for your attendance.
Call the motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.